Good evening. I'd like to call the city council meeting to order. It is Tuesday, August 9th, 2022 at 7 PM, actually 7:05 PM. We are at city council at the city in the council chambers at 1140 Dealman Road in Olivet 63132. Please take roll call.
Councilmember Knox,
Here.
Councilmember Clark,
Here.
Councilmember Waldman,
Here.
Chairman Pro Tem,
Here.
Mayor.
Here.
And
Next.
the minutes will reflect that the Chairman Pro Tem is on via Zoom.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Mayor, the next item is communications. I have no written communications, though I believe you might have one. And then after that, we also have the swearing in of our new police officer, Melissa Kofelt. So if you want to proceed with your communications first.
This afternoon, I received communications from the mayor of University City, Terry Crow. And he says, Mayor Weil, I want to take a moment and express my appreciation to you and your city on behalf of the resident of the University of University City. At our council meeting last night, our city manager, Gregory Rose, shared with us how much your help from Olivet provided during our recent floods. The fact that our neighbors came to our aid attest to the sense of community we have in our area. We hope you never need any assistance from University City, but please know that we stand willing to help our neighbors just as you have done for us, Terry Crow.
And Mayor, if you recall, at the last regular meeting, I read a synopsis of the firefighters, Swiftwater rescues at University City. And then also after that, we did, our Public Works Department also assisted with some of the devastation that they had.
Great. Thank you. Next item, please. I'm sorry, I'll go into the swearing in. It's my honor tonight to swear in Police Officer Melissa Kofelt, I'm sorry. She graduated from the St. Louis City Police Academy, where she worked for approximately 1 year prior to being hired by the Olivet Police Department. Melissa is a graduate of Vatterott College, where she earned her degree in business management, but has always been interested in a career in law enforcement. Melissa has a special interest in traffic control and enforcement investigations and community engagement. While in St. Louis City, she received multiple awards for traffic enforcement efforts. Melissa grew up in a small town of Kirksville, Missouri, outside of Kansas City. Melissa's family includes her mother, Edith Quaintance. I knew I was trying to get that right. Quaintance, who's in attendance with us tonight. Her two sisters, Amanda and Angel, and three brothers, Jerry, Sonny, and Jack. Melissa also has two daughters, Bianca and Megan. Her interests include traveling, animals, taking walks, poetry, and the Kansas City Chiefs. And soon, hopefully, the St. Louis Cardinals. Is that good enough? Should we just stand close to it? Does it pick us up? Okay. Beautiful. Melissa Kofelt. I, Melissa Kofelt, do solemnly swear that I possess all qualifications to serve as a police officer for the city of Olivet, St. Louis County, Missouri. That I will support the Constitution
very Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of Missouri,
and the state of Missouri,
and the charter and ordinances
and the charter and ordinances
of the city of Olivet,
of the city of Olivet,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of this office
the duty of this office
by abiding by the law enforcement code of conduct.
by abiding by the law
Enforcement code of
and
ethics. I
or
blew it.
the code of ethics.
I recognize the badge of my office
I recognize the badge of my office
as a symbol of public faith,
as a symbol of public faith,
and I accept it as a public trust
and I accept it as a public trust
to be held and honored.
to be held in an honor. Thank you.
Stand together, take a picture.
I think we're going to have a few more pictures with the chief and the family, et cetera. I thought we were supposed to clap first.
I don't know.
Chief, do you want to get the other officers up for the photo?
Congratulations.
Next item is the city manager's report. I just need to share my screen real quick. Hey, good evening. It is the first regular meeting of the month, and that means we are going to have some dashboards to look at. This is the first is for the community center and Warson Park. As you can see, schedule modifications, had some schedule impact from soil remediation. That was a couple of days, and there are a couple of delay claims that we're still looking at and kind of talking about the days. I think we got pretty close today to where where those are going to land. And so I think we're still on schedule for kind of a March 15th substantial completion date. You can see that they've gotten a lot of the loop path done, about 50% of the loop path done. The underground plumbing is near completion. The electric is 25% done. The structural steel, they've started the installation. We'll see a picture of that in a little bit. Hoping to get a lot more of that loop paving done, beginning next week. And then finish up some of those other, underground things, plumbing and the underground electrical. We have gone over kind of our submittals and the request for information. Again, that's RFIs and submittals are when people that are kind of looking just for more information on things. And the biggest thing about that is to keep that number complete, closest to 100%. You don't want your questions lingering for days. I think we've been doing a pretty good job with that. We have 77 RFIs and 73 have been answered to date. Some anticipated or possible modifications in pricing. So those would be, I think we've talked about these a little bit when at the meeting, last month's meeting, when we had representatives from Navigate and KI here. There's some roof screening that we have that's we're still getting some pricing for and finalizing. They're looking at the foundation retrofits, coordination revisions, and I don't think that's going to be a big dollar amount. I think it's going to be more of a, you know, how many days it might be if it slowed us down or delayed us a little bit. We have the wall backing for the owner furnished items. Those are for actually in the indoor playground area. We're waiting on pricing to do a kind of what they had to do here when we did the school, the project with the school and the ceramic tiles. And we had to reinforce that wall so that they could hold those tiles. The Park and Rec director, Beverly Tucker Knight, has worked with the retired art teacher, Lisa Roth, who actually did this project. And we've got a number of her things that were in the school prior to their upgrades. And so those will be going in there. So that'll be again, a small amount. And then there were some conflicts with some sinks, floor sinks, some plumbing modifications. Those are things that you would that aren't too atypical in most construction projects. The thing that we're keeping a very close eye on is our contingencies and our allowances. The allowance are for basically kind of soil conditions. We had 200,000 that was actually part of the bid. We are projecting right now a remaining of allowance of about 50,000, 51,000. And our contingency, which started out at 528, a little above that, we're looking at 100,000 remaining in that. Now, as you recall, these anticipated changes are estimates by the owner's representative, Navigate, and they're pretty conservative. And what we found out, like at one of the last meetings, was that you know, we had something on hold for about 150,000, and it came in at 120,000. So we don't anticipate going over that, over the expected amount, but we do hope to be under those. You can see with our MBE, WBE, we're pretty much right on target. And again, the thing that we have concern is our schedule risk. And things that we're still working on, the indoor playground equipment that actually did arrive, and it's being stored by the city until it's ready to be put in for the indoor playground. Furniture procurement, I believe they're pretty close to nailing that down. They've been working on that pretty diligently. We have our IT computer procurement. That again, we've been in communications with our managed IT provider, Certified Net, so they're on board with this. The fitness equipment, that's just waiting for the room to be ready to put it in. And we have just today released a request for proposals for the abatement of the existing community center. We're hoping to have those, the bids in and with work to begin December 1 on abatement of the old community center.
When is the bid due?
I would have to look at that. I don't
Okay.
recall the date. But I can get that to you. You give a number of days. It's going to be due more earlier because they have to get built the permits before they go in. So that's the part of the reason for the delay. The other thing is we can't start the abatement until we know that the maintenance building, the new maintenance building is going to be completed. And that our parks crew can move into there. We can use that building for storage, and then we can move our staff at the community center to here, to City Hall. So that when they're doing the abatement, it's only the professional folks in there. Some photos, this top left, that's some of the structural steel. That's actually looking at the side of the fitness room, and this brick along the side, this is actually the wall of the gym. The wall of the gym, yeah. This is the loop at Warson Park. And you can see the ball fields there, the trash holder. I don't know why we've spent a lot of time talking about this guy. And then you can see just the other construction photos. I believe I don't believe any of these are of the maintenance building though, are they, Beverly? I don't believe so. No, because those are still, yeah. The middle? The middle? Okay. Yeah, so they've gotten a lot of work done on the foundation and they're putting in some of the underground, and we're hoping to get that poured before too terribly long, because again, as we said, that should be completed mid-October. I just highlighted these to make them a little bit bigger, so it's a little bit easier to see the steel. Yes, and the roof struts. The park improvement dashboard, again, these are for the 4 other parks. They are, Hankins is really just zooming away on this. You can see the substantial completion dates that we have in here. The latest one is a November 30th, which is Irvside. And part of the reason for that is it's just, we always wanted to keep one pavilion, try to keep one pavilion open, or at least have one park open where you could go. And so we had to do some of the shuffling like that. At Stacy, if you have, it's kind of a work zone, it's harder to see, but they're really doing nice work at Stacy Park, getting the pavilion floors ready, to putting in the sidewalks and the asphalt trails. And the stormwater basin. People have gotten a couple questions about what's the lake in front along Old Bonham Road, and that's a detention basin. And it worked very well when we had 9 inches of rain, so that was good. It did not fail. At Villa, they've taken up the old some of the old trails that we'll be replacing. And they're getting ready for the installation of the splash pad piping. And we actually, that plan had to change a little bit. We had to do some adjustments due to civil engineering there. And we did get our permit from MSD because we were going to do some bioretention. And now we need to actually link the water to the stormwater system. And at Indian Meadows, if you've gone by there, they have done some of the rough and grading. One of the things that's not on this because it was a city project is a new lateral sewer line from the restrooms. And that was completed. And Irvside, if you drive by Irvside, you'll see that they've started the installment of the tree protection. Really, a lot of the work they're going to do is they're just going to continue to move on with what they're doing. And we're trying to get that parking lot at Stacy completed. We are not going to we were hoping to have it done by the end of August. We're not going to make that due to the rains that we've had. They were really trying to start, I think it was like next week. Yeah, the 22nd. They haven't said they won't be able to, but it's pretty wet out there. And so we are kind of working with that, along with the opening of the school. And I think the opening of the school, they're running pretty tight too with their construction. Again, they've had some setbacks with the weather. Again, we have a couple of RFIs, requests for information that have been generated, and they get answered pretty rapidly here. With regard to contingencies and allowance, we have 100,000 in the allowance. That's again for those unforeseen soil issues, and we have used about 51,000 of it, so about half of that. And in our owner contingency, we have used majority of that, of our contingencies in this. Now, a lot of that comes with with some of the changes in design that had to occur at Villa Park. So again, we have some risks. Biggest risk we have again are schedules, because time is money, and the schedule on this project is much more susceptible to weather issues, just because it's all outside. There's no inside construction. They completed that already when they did the renovations of the bathrooms at Stacy Park. Then some of the pictures. This is looking kind of, you're looking towards the school. That's Old Bonham School in this top left one. And that's the sidewalk. You see the new sidewalk that connects to Old Bonham. That's the sidewalk. And then to the right, these are the pillars that the pavilion will be on. So there's 2 rows of those. That's the placement of the specialty soils in the detention basin. They're finishing up the concrete work, and they're doing, again, some of the concrete curbs in the parking lot. They're really trying to get as much done as they can on the days when they can. And then you see some of the other work at Villa Park in Indian Meadows, and it's just a lot of moving dirt or moving mud, depending on the day. These 2. And with that, upcoming events tomorrow morning at 8:45, we have coffee with the mayor, and the mayor's guest is Jordan Kadosh. Kadoosh, sorry. Her guest is the regional executive for the Anti-Defamation League. I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. It's going to be good to find out exactly. The ADL does a lot of work that I think a lot of people are unaware of. The next meeting then that we have of commissions is our Park and Recreation Commission on August 17th, Planning and Community Design Commission on August 18th. The City Council's next regular meeting is the 23rd at 7 p.m. We have our first movie in the park, Sing 2, August 27th, 8 p.m. at Warson Park. Olivet Night Out is August 31st, 6 p.m. And then we have a work session on September 6th. And again, don't forget, we have 1 day left for the MDA Fill the Boot, and that's August 19th. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I do.
Councilmember Waldman.
Barb, under the dashboard for Orson Park, there was electrical keynote for controls. All right, this is what is
Oh, Warson, sorry. Go back.
Camisa. So down here under the construction project financial summary under anticipated modifications, PCR 22. Revised electrical keynote for controls. What is that? And if you don't, that's okay, but could you
I
find
believe
out?
that's
and-
from the meeting we just had. Is that, yeah, it's, that was actually more recently put in, and it's to change some lights out to make sure we're dark sky compliant. No, that's not at Warson. No, this is when we met with the electrical, and these are for the controls. We made a couple of changes for the outdoor lights. For the holiday lights. I can pull it up real quick. I'll look at the PCR.
You could share the information later. I'm not here to
I can do it
distract
before the
you.
end. I can do it
Okay.
before the end.
Okay.
The PCRs are all listed. I just,
Yeah, yeah. That's, yeah, okay.
I can tell you that, it wasn't a big dollar issue. I remember it. We can talk about it. when you want.
It's always just curiosity of like, what is that?
Any other question? I had a quick question. Can you tell us about last Saturday night, the Starry Night, or in Beverly? Was it successful? Did you have a nice crowd? Did you see anything?
We did. It was a very hot evening, as I'm sure you're all aware, but we had a nice breeze that came through. We had about 8 telescopes out there, some of the very large ones, some very powerful ones. We had about 28 people came of all ages, adults, families with young children, some preteens with their parents. It was very nice. And the big news is we got to see incredible views of the moon, which was amazing because you could really see the transition between the light and dark and the mountain ranges in there. They had special filters, so it wasn't too bright to see. And the other thing is we got to see Saturn and 2 of her moons. So
Wow.
that was pretty cool.
Very cool.
I could see Saturn every night. It was wonderful. So, yeah, thank you.
Thanks for sharing. Next item, please.
Next item is I'm sorry, is city council reports.
I think I'll start to my left with Councilmember Waldman.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. On August 4th, 2022, I attended the City of Bellevue's Planning Community Design Commission meeting along with our esteemed city attorney, Mr. Martin. Under consent business, I will indicate that there was quite a conversation with regard to 46 Stony Side Lane. And this with owners of our Ramsgate, speaking of concerns of water runoff. This was deferred after an extensive conversation. And we will see what can be done. Some conversations included restricting the depth of basements in the future as large homes begin to get built in areas where they were not before. And it is discharging water and runoff that is concerns to others. Under other business, the that zoning regulations. Mr. Martin spoke to Planning Community Design Commission and Clean Air Olivet did their presentation. This is the amount of papers that Clean Air Olivet presented to the commission. So the commission did receive it. I've already been reviewing it. Mr. Martin spoke and he will provide language back to the Planning Community Design Commission with regards to this matter. And every single day, this matter is changing. The The text amendment for the public activity district and child care centers was deferred just due to the time of the meeting. Short-term rentals was also deferred. And that is pretty much the extent of my report for that commission meeting. Thank you.
Councilmember Clark,
I have no reports at this time.
thank you. Councilmember Knox,
I have no report.
Councilmember Carl.
Yes,
Oh, sorry, Chairman Pro Tem Carl.
that's okay. Last Thursday, I attended the pension board meeting. We are currently at a balance of just over $23 million. All of our asset allocations are in line with our targets. So basically we're looking to set in pretty good shape. However, you know what's happened to the market, and so some of this may come, we may get a lower balance as time goes on, but as of this last reporting, we're in pretty good shape, and I expect us to be after that. And finally, they did start to talk about a possible looking into a COLA adjustment on the pension plan, although they will continue to investigate the subject. And I have nothing further unless I have questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Chairman Pro Tem?
Greg, was that your comment related to the decrease of interest from 7.5 to 7.0? Or was that something else that you were referencing? They will.
I remember using those numbers. When did I say that?
You did. I said, was that in reference to that change that you said they will be monitoring?
No, we had a report, it was actually Councilmember Knox had requested a report for possibility of reinstating a COLA in the pension. The pension board received that report, and I don't think they're going to monitor. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. We will be bringing it back to the council at a work session though.
Thank you, Chairman Pro Tem. Next item, please.
I'm sorry, before we go to hearing from citizens, I did want to just clarify the PCR question that was asked. It was for the receptacles to be mounted alongside outside edge of rooftop for use with holiday lighting displays. And they wanted the contractor to verify the exact location and make sure that those are connected to the circuits through the lighting control panel located in the electrical room. So it was it had to do with verifying that it was happening and that it was connected. So those are just plugins on the roof and making sure we don't have to have somebody climb up to turn them on. And then next is hearing from citizens, Mayor.
Any citizens that would like to speak tonight? Okay. Are you sure? Okay, thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is Bill number 2981, an ordinance of the city of Olivet, Missouri, amending section 240.090A.1. Park facilities and activities fees pavilions. This would be a first reading. And Mayor Beverly Tucker is here to present. Are you going to want me to bring up my copy?
You could, or I could log into Zoom.
You'll
Would
have to
that
log,
be-
yeah, just log
would
into
that be
Zoom then.
easier?
Just to tee this up again,
It's
there
in-
were-
Invalid ID number. Why don't you open it and I'll tell
Okay.
you when to advance it. Thank you. Yes, that's exactly what we'll be doing. So, good evening, Mayor, council members. This evening, you have before you consideration for adding the Indian Meadows Pavilion to the city's existing fee structure. And I thought it would be very helpful to do a very brief overview of how the pavilion system works and how Indian Meadows fits in with the other pavilions. So next slide. So currently, we have pavilions in 4 parks, 3 of which are rented. So we have the Stacy Pavilion, which is under renovation that you saw pictures of. It holds up to 200 people maximum. If you have over 150 people, it triggers a special use permit, and there are different restrictions and guidance that go along with that. It has a parking lot, and the pavilion is roughly 3,000 square feet. Also have Earthside Pavilion, which is reservable from April 15th through November 1, and that is tied to when the restrooms are opened. That's weather driven. It will accommodate up to 100 people. No special event permits are allowed there, which means that you cannot have a bounce house or special caterers there. It does have parking lot access on the weekends. We have an agreement with Logo School that allows that. The pavilion is roughly 1,300 square feet. Villa Pavilion is also reservable from April 15th to November 1. It has up to 50 people that can be accommodated. Again, no special event permits are allowed there. Again, no bouncy houses or other extra things. It has a parking lot, which accommodates about 14 cars, and it's 1,200 square feet. And then Indian Meadows Pavilion, and I apologize, the borders are kind of off on this. I apologize. Indian Meadows Pavilion is currently not reservable, so therefore it does not have a minimum nor maximum. No special events are allowed there, meaning, again, no bouncy houses or other extra things can be brought there. It does not have electricity. It has street parking only, and it's roughly 1,400 square feet. Next slide. Okay, so to use our pavilions, the first thing that I want to be very clear is our pavilions are free and open to the public every day of the year. You on a first come, first served basis. So in the dead of winter, if you want to go out and use that pavilion, you're absolutely welcome to. In the summertime, low use time, if you're out in the park with your family and you want to have a picnic lunch under the pavilion, you're absolutely welcome to. And sometimes multiple families will use them at the same time. The paid reservation system allows you to ensure that you have exclusive access on a specific date for a specific time period. So that is how the reservation system works. So that means that you don't have to pay to use the pavilion. You have to pay to ensure that you will have access to it on a specific day and a specific time. Reservations may be made up to 1 year in advance. Villa and Earthside have electronic reservations you can book online, or you can call and book over the phone, or you can come in person to reserve the pavilions. Stacy Park may only be reserved with a staff member. And that's, again, because of its larger capacity, the fact that it can have special event permits. So we really want to have a better understanding of what's going on at Stacy Park. And then once you reserve the pavilion, the day of your reservation, a sign is posted in a frame up in the pavilion that tells people who's reserved it, during what times, and for how many people. Next slide. This is our current fee schedule. So you can see Villa and Earthside both have the same fee. For half day, full day, for residents is $30 and $70. And then for non-residents, it's $90 for a half day and $210 for a full day. And then Stacy Park, again, is $60 and $140. If you have over 150 people, there's an automatic surcharge of a refundable damage deposit. And then to have that special event fee, there's a large group fee. I apologize the way I don't know why this is looking differently than on my computer. So the large group surcharge is $150. The refundable damage deposit is $150. And then if you want to have special activities, like you're bringing in a petting zoo or a special caterer or a big DJ or bounce house or whatever, then it's a $100 flat rate. And then with that special event, you work with staff, you do a diagram of where those activities will be, what your decibel will be for your sound system, which way your speakers are allowed to point, etc. So our half days in all the parks are from 9 a.m. to 2. Then there's a gap that allows the contract cleaners to come in and service the pavilion before the next group comes in at 3 o'clock, and then they have to be completed and out of the park by dusk. And then a full day is 9 a.m. to dusk. And the reason we say dusk is because the time shifts with the seasons. So if you say it's 9 o'clock, there's every chance that your event could be in pitch black, and then you're violating the park ordinance by being in there. So that's why we say dusk. Okay, next slide. So Indian Meadows Park is not currently part of the reservation system. Following residents coming and speaking to the council directed the Parks and Recreation Commission to look at ways to bring it in. So here's an overview of what the pavilion has. One, it's our newest pavilion until the Stacy Park is completed. The Indian Meadows is a long linear park with two areas that widen out. So the pavilion is currently on the west end of the park in an area that's much wider than other parts of the park. The Centennial Greenway will be coming in behind it. So the restrooms there are a nice there'll be a little trail node there. It's not a trailhead. It's just a place for people along the trail to be able to use restrooms. There's parking on the street only. There's no dedicated parking just for the park. There's space for roughly 12 to 14 cars there. There are no electrical outlets for the public in the pavilion. And then the pavilion is very close to a house next door. Next slide. So the council asked the Parks and Recreation Commission to look at the other pavilions and then come up with a recommended capacity cap for Indian Meadows Park, and then to come up with recommended rates. Next slide, please. So the commission made some recommendations. These were the recommendations they gave to the city council and was discussed at the city council's work session last Tuesday night. The park commission recommendation was to charge the same rates as Villa Park, to set the maximum capacity also the same as Villa at 50, to enact the same policies as Villa and Irvside, so reservable from April 15th through November 1st, to continue the no special event permit policy. And then following the discussion with the council last Tuesday night, the council added the stricture that to reserve Indian Meadows Park, you would need to make contact with the staff rather than doing it online. So these would be the rates, $30 half day, $70 full day for residents, and for non-residents, $90 half day and $210 for the full day. So I believe that's my last slide. Yep, that's my last slide. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have this evening.
Are there any questions from the city council members?
I should note that Sue Rich is here from the Parks and Recreation Commission if you have any questions of the commission.
We spoke at length about this at our work session, and both Sue Rich and Jim Person, who's the chair of the commission, were there. And I think we covered a lot of the information, so I would be happy to hear a motion.
Oh, this is a first reading.
It's just a
Oh,
first
just
reading.
the first reading.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, we're just ready to rock and roll.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is our first reading. We'll bring it back on our October 23rd, on our August 23rd meeting. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Next item, please.
Mayor, item number 7 is a bill 2982, an ordinance reaffirming and adopting chapter 115, article 3, section 115.080 through 115.120 conflict of interest of the city of Olivet, Missouri Municipal Code, and establishing a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain municipal employees. First reading. You may all, every 2 years, we need to update this section, or need to kind of reaffirm it via an ordinance through the language which they give. And basically, this is, if this were not approved, candidates for elected offices would have to file a longer form. And also, I believe other officials such as the finance director and the city manager would also have to do the longer form. So this allows you, this is basically saying, this is our process, this is our procedure, and then it gives you the privilege of a shorter form. And again, this is just a first reading.
Yeah, and so when we go online to do our yearly financials as elected officials, they ask us that question.
Yes.
Is this, is your city, or the terminology of what a city is your subdivision allowed to do a short form or the long form? And so I appreciate this clarification. I know I've asked this before, so thank you
It's
much.
A little bit confusing language. Partly because you've never seen the long form, so you don't even know how long. I think you've always done this. Okay. And moving on to item number 8, resolution 2022-228, a resolution approving an amendment to the investment policy statement of the salaried employees pension plan of the city of Olivet. Let me bring that up. And go over what the changes were.
Was this in relation to the pension meeting that Chairman Pro Tem attended?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was. And this is where you're going to see that assumption of the 7.2 to the 7%. The investment policy statement, that's the guiding, one of the guiding documents for how the city can invest the pension monies. Okay, so it outlines what types of funds you can be in, what percentage you can have in different types of things, and it who you're investing with, what the anticipated kind of assumptions are. And this is kind of when you get this assumption of the actuarial earnings, it's the actuarial earnings assumption. That's actually an assumption that's made by the city's actuary, Econ Benefits. And it had been 2.5%. And actually when they presented, I think it probably changed last year to the 7%. No, we'd have to go back and look. But so the proposal of this change is to get the actuarial report that is assuming a 7% earnings in line with our investment policy. So that's the reason for that. And what they would say is that is not an issue of current financial difficulties. That's just kind of where we should be. It's not a rate that, it's not an assumption that moves too quickly or too often. And then
Basically, I guess I will explain that as that is our assumption as to what our overall portfolio will bring in the future based on our asset allocations, et cetera. So this is in some way playing into how much money will we earn from our portfolio in future estimates. If we lower the number, we're lowering the amount of earnings that we expect, which is maybe in line with the latest market trends. So that's what that number does.
which is why it's presented by the actuary who's going out and looking and telling us how well funded is your fund. And we will be talking, we will be having them come, as I said, to the council. We typically will do that at a work session. The next amendment is a change to addendum A, which is defining the investment professionals. And this, again, this is just a list of all, they call them managers. It's not like you're ever going to meet these folks. But they are who are managing the individual funds that we are working with. And there were a lot of them that go over that. There were a lot of changes and corrections. But the big change was the addition of Pacific as a manager for senior secured loans. And then the final change is the final amendment is to add Regions Bank as the custodian in addition to Principal Financial Group. Principal had been the custodian when we had all our monies in principal. When we started diversifying the fund, moving investments to Vanguard, we had a second custodian, BMO. And then BMO then became LPL. Actually, it was not exactly sure because BMO is still around. There's we've been working with LPL, it got transferred over. And Regions Bank, I think, is going to perform much better service. Getting some transfers done through LPL took a little more time than what was anticipated, and what we thought was good. So that's the other change. And I can go through this, the resolution, and then those are the changes of the assumptions. And again, this is a good document for folks to look at periodically anyway. Responsibilities of the council, responsibilities of the trustees, our consultants, those investment managers. And that's the Pacific is a new investment manager. The responsibilities of the custodians. And again, we're adding, we have principal and we're adding Regions Bank. This is our asset allocation. And it tells you last time we changed our investment policy was when we added private equity. And it was almost exactly a year ago. So so there isn't a change. I will say that with the move to Pacific in the senior secured that we talked about before, that is actually a new investment type that is under US equities. So it did not change those targets, but it does add a new type. And so I just want to point that out because it's not a change that needs to be approved by the council, but it is something we should know. And I guess you find out about it because if we change a manager, you find out this way. So this is when kind of we talk about those investment goals and our objectives. If we were to replace an investment manager, what do we do? How they're evaluated. And just so you know, each quarter we are presented with an investment manager report so that we are told how those managers are doing. And then there are the general guidelines. As we go through, how do we evaluate the portfolio, and then any amendments that might be made. And then we have addendum 1. And what you're going to see with some of these is just an update. I don't know if it didn't get updated the last time. The only real change here is the Pacific. That's actually a new change. Some of these others are things that must not have been updated the last time. Because we're not actually
Darren, under
changing
preferred
that.
securities, what does the word ICE stand for? ICE B of A? Under preferred securities, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth one down on addendum A.
I don't know. I'd have to
Okay.
look.
I was just curious.
So that's kind of the explanation. And again, Pro Tem Carl can answer more of your questions than I can. So
And econ used to be called what?
Huh?
Econ used to be who?
Econ's always been Econ Benefits.
Oh, I thought it was a
Keith
name change.
Kowalski,
Yeah, Kowalski, but I thought it was a name change. Okay.
Marquette was a name change.
Are there any other questions?
Yes, is it, the people that come before the pension, is it Modetta? They come, the firm, firm that comes before the pension board?
Marquette?
Marquette.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they're still with us.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's all I have.
Any other questions? Okay. We have a recommended action.
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve resolution 2022-228, a resolution approving an amendment to the investment policy statement to the salaried employees pension plan of the city of Olivet.
Second.
Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Knox,
Yes,
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion pass.
Next item, please.
Next item is a request for document destruction of court records. And oops, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here, sorry. And our court clerk, Sarah Runzer, is here to discuss that. And it was also at your last meeting where I believe you had a couple of questions on the court report, and I think it was just the language. And so I'm gonna bring up her report from last time, and you folks can look at that and ask her any questions, and I will also bring up her document destruction.
Thank you for staying late this evening.
Turn your mic, please turn your mic on.
I've done this before. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm here to answer any questions you may have in regards to my request for document destruction of paper files for court files disposed of in the year 2016 and 2017. These records, per court operating rule 8.04.6, are termed out and able to be disposed of. The presiding judge of the St. Louis County Courts has the authority to approve that request. So I have made that motion to Judge Mary Elizabeth Ott, and she has signed off and approved that. So I'm just bringing it before the council to make you aware and answer any questions you may have.
Then are you required to hold on to documents like that? Isn't there a period of time that you've got to hold on to them?
Yes, court operating rule from the Supreme Court states all of the retention guidelines for those files. The files I'm asking to destroy today are what I would term 3-year files. There are certain violations that the paper files have to be kept for 3 years. There is another set of violations where the files need to be kept for 12 years. And lastly, your more serious municipal violations like stealings, assaults, driving while intoxicated offenses, those are 50-year retention files. So the ones that I'm asking for today are simply minor traffic violations and code ordinance violations.
Do they keep any kind of digital copies of these, or is this just physical paper?
Yes, they're all digital. Those are retained up into a point, but these are just the request for the physical files to be destroyed by
Thank you.
shredding.
Thank you. I believe that our city manager is going to share with us one of your reports you recently did,
Sure.
if we can rotate it.
I believe does anybody remember the question? Am I not in the right?
It was brought to my attention. I think there may have been a question last meeting concerning the definition of the excess revenues versus non-excess revenues.
That's-
Yes, you
Oh,
are
it's on
correct.
the.
Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It's on the next page. I'm sorry.
A little birdie told me. EM.
Want to give us an explanation while we're waiting for it
There
to
it
appear?
is. Sorry.
Great.
Yeah, so a basic brief explanation is per the state statute, the revenues that the court brings in are divided basically into two different categories. This change occurred with the passage of Senate Bill 5 in 2015. The state's Max Creek Law caps the amount of court revenue that can be collected by a city in relation to its general revenue. The current cap on the revenue from the courts in relation to the court or the city's general revenue is 20%. So a municipal court cannot collect any more than 20% of their general revenue from court fines. Anything in excess of that amount would be sent over to the state. And I believe that money is then used for education purposes or funding. So there's the breakdown, certain violations, the revenue from those violations would be counted as excess revenue. So that would be subject to that cap. Those violations are going to be your minor traffic violations and also any ordinance violations such as housing ordinances or any violations of the code. Violations that would not count into that would be your more major violations. Again, your DWIs, assaults, stealings, offenses of that nature. So those would not be included in that excess revenues. So it simply splits those revenues into those two categories in order to assure that we're in compliance with that cap amount. And I believe our last fiscal year, because our revenue from court generated revenues is so low, we've just used the entire revenue. And I think ours was like 1.1% of the entire general revenue of the city, which is well below that 20% cap. But when I report to the state, they have to have the breakdown between excess revenues and general revenues.
So what's under the total excess revenue, that's not actually what's going to go back to the state. That's just the total that fell into that category.
Correct. So those monies would just be subject to that cap.
You're too creepy tonight. You are just way too much reading my mind tonight. Too crazy.
Yes.
I think that was the confusion is like, wait, we have that much going to them?
I mean,
No,
we've
no.
never hit 20%. We've never
No.
hit over 3.8%.
Right.
of
Our
budget.
revenue is very low. Yes.
Way to go.
There was, when Senate Bill 5 was passed, they attempted to lower that cap for 12.5% for municipalities in St. Louis County. That was rescinded or modified in Senate Bill 572 in 2016. And we are now in compliance with the number for the entire state, rather than being subject to a special law for St. Louis County. Any other questions?
I was going to ask you that question. What was the percentage?
For now? Yeah, I think it's like we have 1.1%.
And I think we were,
And like I said, that's the entire, we've always calculated it with the entire revenue from the court rather than even differentiating between excess because it is so low.
the other question I had was they break down different areas of the court fees, the education for the police fund and did it,
That I'm aware of, that I've seen. I know there
I
are
know they don't
different,
anymore because it's, you don't, yeah,
yeah, not that I'm aware of.
thank you.
So Sarah's been with us for how many years?
A long time.
Yeah.
And my very first council meeting.
And it's her first council meeting, so I think we'll have her back regularly. Well,
Did I do okay?
your first council meeting?
Yes.
Thank you.
So,
for-
yes, it's nice to see all of you.
Yeah.
I don't get to see you very much, so. Thanks for
The
letting me
funny
come.
thing with the document destruction, which I don't think we've actually taken a motion on yet.
No, we have not.
Is that it's a little unclear if that even has to come to the council or not, because the judge has to approve it. And so we've gone back and forth and we've just had it come on. Just so that you're aware that it happens and such.
Yeah, I think in a way that's good, because that way it's documented and recorded for the city too. So that there's a record of it, so.
The judge and the prosecutor are still the same.
Yes, Judge Frisella and Ross Davis is our prosecutor still.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
I'd be
Thank you, Sarah.
happy.
You.
I'd be happy to entertain a motion.
And Mayor, I recommend the approval of the destruction of the documents described as classified and as ordered by Judge Ott. I don't know, in the memo dated August 3rd, I got a memo dated
July
August 3rd.
26th.
I'm looking at the memo to council, August 3rd, 2022. The memo dated July 26, 2022.
For the vote, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Are we calling names? I can't hear anybody's name.
Chairman Pro Tem, I'm sorry.
Yes. Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
and with that, the motion pass. You can go. I can tell your husband that we went longer if you want.
Next item, please.
Hearing from citizens.
It doesn't appear that anyone would like to comment at this time, so we'll move on to the next item.
The next is approval of the minutes from the work session on August 3rd.
I did not see any changes. Did anyone else?
I did not.
Who wants to make a motion?
Madam Mayor, make a motion that we accept the Olivet City Council work session meeting minutes of August 3rd, 2022 as written.
I second it.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Knox,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
The record will reflect that Councilmember Clark left the meeting briefly.
Item, please.
Next item is city attorney's report.
Madam Mayor, I would just like to report that I have filed the motion in the North Price litigation case that we discussed last week. And it is scheduled for hearing on August 30th. And if the judge approves, then we will have cleared title to that point of North Price Road where it's supposed to access for the apartment development.
Very exciting. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Beyond that, I would ask for a closed session. It will be brief for attorney-client communications and potential litigation. 610-021.1.
Okay. Would be happy to hear a motion.
Madam Mayor, I
So
move.
moved.
Go ahead, Greg.
I just said so moved. Paul gave us the numbers.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call for the vote.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark, Councilmember Knox.
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Pro Tem,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed. The council moved to executive session at approximately 8:14 PM.
Thank you. If we're finished recording. Okay. Okay. As we, I'll call for motion to adjourn, but before I do, I just want to remind people that are listening or watching to please join us for coffee with the mayor tomorrow morning.
Second.
Adjourned.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Good night, Greg.